Brudiclad Telchor Engineer versus the Space Train, Value Train, whatever Jolt calls it, Unesh, Criosphinx Sovereign. Criosphinx. Right, there we go. Made up words on Magic Online. We'll go for a mulligan on that. We want to get into some, well, I was going to say we want to get into some cheap means of ramping, but that's not quite what I had in mind. We'll go for it again. And that isn't particularly good, but we're going to have to keep it. We can throw that straight onto the bottom. We'll go for our Great Furnace and then pass over to our opponent. Unesh Criosphinx Sovereign is a 4/4 flyer for 6 mana. It makes our Sphinxes, or our opponent's Sphinxes, cost 2 generic less. And when it enters, or another Sphinx enters, you get a mini Factor Fiction. It basically reveals the top 4 cards of our opponent's library, and we separate them into piles. And then our opponent chooses one of them to put into their hand, and the rest go into the graveyard. Brudiclad Telchor Engineer is a 4/4 for 6 mana. It gives our tokens haste, and it throws out a 2/1 blue mirror token at the beginning of combat. And then we can choose a target token we control, and all of our tokens become a copy of the chosen creature. Or not necessarily the chosen creature, just the chosen artifact. We could make an artifact that isn't a creature and have them all become copies of that if we wanted to. I think it might be a good idea to go for Fabricate here. And we'll just go for our Volcanic Island. And we'll go for Fabricate and try and get down a Mana Crypt, I think. Our opponent may well just counter this. They do not. So that's good. We'll go for Mana Crypt. There's no need to play it because we risk bolting ourselves next turn if we do play it. Yeah, so Unesh Criosphinx Sovereign just wants to, well, it's Sphinx Tribal basically, and it's actually surprisingly good. You would think that it would be difficult to do Sphinx Tribal because the Sphinxes tend to be so expensive, but Unesh does make them cost less, and they do lots of good stuff when they enter and when they attack and stuff like that. So, yeah, and you can just hold up mana in the early game for control magic, so it's a pretty good combo to go for. Combination of creatures, I mean, not an actual combo. We'll go for our Fairy Artisans here and see if we can get some good tokens on the go. Whenever a non-token creature enters under an opponent's control, we create a token that's a copy of it, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types, and we exile all other tokens created with Fairy Artisans, so we don't get a choice in that. If we get a really good token, then we really want to have our commander make copies of it as soon as possible, because as soon as our opponent plays another creature, we'll get a copy without any say in the matter whatsoever. We'll be getting a copy of our opponent's commander though, which means that we get a mini Factor Fiction ourselves. And is this our pile? Yeah, it must be, of course, because we have red in there. Be intrigued to see how our opponent separates that. Yeah, we'll just go for the 2 basics. So that's actually really good that it clears those cards off the top of our library. And yeah, our opponent probably chooses Panharmonic on here, because Sphinxes do have really good ETB. No, they don't. They go for the ramp, and they've already burned High Tide, which is really good. They might be able to flash it back. But yeah, they go for the Argent Sphinx and the Mana Vault. This thing has Metalcraft and blue. Exile it, return it to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. You can only do that if you control 3 or more artifacts, so that will of course trigger the mini Factor Fiction. We'll see if we get bolted off of the Mana Crypt. We do not, so that's excellent for us. let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, we can just throw down our Brudiclad. We'll get a token mirror, and then we will have the mirror become a copy of Unesh. But we'll have to choose which one do we want to keep. We want to keep this one. We'll sacrifice the one to the Fairy Artisans because we're going to lose that one as soon as they play another creature anyway. And then we do not want to offer up the trade, I don't think. No, we won't offer up the trade. I want to keep as many tokens in play as possible. What we might do is go for quasi-duplicate on the Fairy Artisans and then have the tokens become copies of those. Or we could go, depending on what our opponent does, we could go for Mystical Tutor during our upkeep, just so that we can go for Crush of Tentacles for 5 mana. And that not only will hopefully slow our opponent down. Yeah, well, we'll see how we feel. It would be good to get some tokens on the go that become 8/8 octopuses. But we do get our own fact or fiction here, which is really good. And yeah, our opponent has a decision to make here. They may give us Kiki-Jiki because we don't have 3 red on the field. Little do they know that we do actually have a mountain in hand. They know about our island because they gave it to us. And then Saheeli's Artistry is nice as well. That's a pretty tough split, I think. Actually, is it? Saheeli's Artistry, I mean, that is just... yeah, that's pretty easy for us, I think. We just go for Brainstorm and Kiki-Jiki. And then we have a Fact or Fiction to give to our opponent. They can have Halimar Depths and a Sphinx, or they can have Disallow and Reliquary Tower. And this is whenever you cycle or discard another card, you scry 1. And it has cycling for a single blue. That's a really good Sphinx. Yeah, very versatile. Okay, yeah, we'll see. They'll probably go for... yeah, they ditch the Disallow, which is fine with me. And then they go to flicker their Argent Sphinx. And then that comes into play, and we do, of course, get a copy of that. And that will trigger our Unesh. And Zealous Conscripts and Kiki-Jiki, I think, is infinite. Yeah, so they know that we have Kiki-Jiki. And as soon as, well, assuming that we do choose, they should have played that out and gone for... it separated the piles up. They might have known about the Zealous Conscripts and Kiki-Jiki infinite combo. It's a pretty common combo, I think, but yeah, we might not have chosen that, so they should have separated the piles and see which one we chose before they conceded. But either way, even if we had chosen Saheeli, I assume they would have separated these two. Even if we'd chosen Saheeli, we could have gotten more token copies of artifacts out had we have wanted to, so we were just getting just as much value as our opponent, thanks to the Fairy Artisans doing some work for us there, getting us a copy of Unesh Value Train. So, hope you all enjoyed that. That's a little bit of what Brudiclad wants to do. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you very much for watching.